Voting is on at 71 seats in phase 1 of polling, and phase 1 has the lowest number of seats as compared to those that will go to polls in the other phases. Over 2 crore people in Bihar will vote today to elect their representatives for 71 of the state's 243 assembly constituencies. Chief Minister Nitish Kumar's Janata Dal United is contesting in 35 seats for this phase, while its ally BJP is contesting in 29. This is the first election amid the coronavirus pandemic, and the Election Commission has issued detailed guidelines that include lowering of the cap of voters from polling for a polling booth from 1,600 to 1,000, staggering of polling hours and postal ballot facilities. Also, electronic voting machines will be sanitized, thermal scanners will be used, hand sanitizer and soap is being made available to the voters. Now, the voting began and will continue till 6 p.m. in most polling booths, except for the ones in the Naxal-affected areas, where it will get over at 5 in the evening. Now, joining me from Bihar are Lok Pandey from Sasaram and Nitish Kumar from Aurangabad. Starting with you, Alok. How's the voting going on over there? You have been talking to a lot of people, especially the ones who were one of the first ones to come and vote over there.
Well, you're right, Anjali. I think it's important for us to stress that this is an election that's happening in the middle of a crippling COVID-19 pandemic. And that's why now you have a situation where everyone who's come into the polling booth, they're all masked up. All of them are wearing a mask, and that's good to see, except a few ladies, at least 1 or 2 ladies who aren't. But you have a situation where a majority of the people are indeed wearing masks. In fact, one thing that I'll show you that seems to be different is just look at this dustbin here. It says that अगर आपने PPE kit पहनी है तो आप इसको यहाँ पे बाद में dispose करिए, and anything related to masks or sanitizers need to be disposed here. Gloves need to be disposed here. So that's the change. And also, if you look at the poll officials, you see that gentleman there who he is perhaps a home guard, and he's wearing a face mask, he's wearing a gloves, he's wearing a mask, and that's really important because these are officials who will be conducting this election through the day. They're going to be here interacting with different sets of voters through the day. In fact, this gentleman who's come here to cast his vote, you can see him wearing a mask and a glove. So, सर आपका नाम क्या है?
जयप्रकाश सिंह।
जयप्रकाश जी, ये बड़ी अच्छी बात है कि आपने ग्लव्स भी पहना है और मास्क भी पहना है। कितना ज़रूरी है कि आदमी थोड़ा जागरूक रहे जब वोट करने आ रहा है? ये ज़रूरी बात है आपके हिसाब से?
जी हाँ सर,
आपके हिसाब से है। और आप यहीं लोकल वोटर हैं? यहीं के?
जी हाँ, लोकल हैं।
यहीं के, ठीक है।
सरकारी एम्प्लॉय भी हैं यहाँ पे।
अच्छा, सरकारी एम्प्लॉय हैं, ठीक है, ठीक है। आपका नाम क्या होगा?
बटेश्वर तिवारी।
आप भी तिवारी जी ग्लव पहन के आए हैं, मास्क पहन के आए हैं, बड़ी अच्छी बात है, मतलब कम से कम ढक के आए हैं अपने आप को। कितना ज़रूरी है कोरोना के टाइम में?
जी एकदम जरूरी है।
So everyone here, you can see, is masked up, and that's really good to see. Voting has picked up a little, but a journalist here, I have a local journalist here, Ajay Pandey, here with me, and he's pointing out that last time there were even longer lines. This time around, the voting seems a little lackluster, sir. अजय जी, क्या वजह आपको लग रही है कि इस बार जो वोटिंग ये जो लाइन है थोड़ी कम है इस बार शहरी बूथ्स में भी?
सर, पिछले चुनावों में देखा गया है, चाहे वो लोकसभा का चुनाव हो या विधानसभा का चुनाव हो, अब तक पिछले 1 घंटा बीत जाने से 2-3 इन 4 बूथों पे लंबी लाइन लग जाया करती थी। इस बार कोरोना को आप मान लें या फिर कोई और वजह, बहुत रुझान मतदाताओं का दिख नहीं रहा है। शायद यही वजह है कि बहुत कम लोग वोट करने आ रहे हैं।
अजय जी, सासाराम में आप तो पत्रकार हैं, सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा क्या रहा है? प्रधानमंत्री भी, उनकी पहली रैली जो बिहार चुनाव की थी वो शायद सासाराम में हुई थी, और शायद आरजेडी वाले भी यहाँ कैंपेन करते रहेंगे। इस शहर का सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा क्या है?
सर, नो डाउट विकास एक बड़ा मुद्दा है यहाँ पे, और बाकी तो इतने जल्दीबाजी में ये कोरोना काल के दौरान चुनाव हुआ, तो बाकी के जो मुद्दे हैं वो गौण हो गए हैं। सर,
ये बताइए कि पहले एक जो सुशांत सिंह राजपूत की अनफॉर्चुनेट डेथ हुई थी,
जी,
ऐसा लगा था कि वो भी एक बड़ा मुद्दा बनेगा, लेकिन क्या आपको लगता है वो बना चुनाव में या नहीं बना?
सर, इस चुनाव में तो बिल्कुल कहीं देखने को नहीं मिला कि सुशांत सिंह राजपूत का कहीं भी मुद्दा बना हो चुनाव में।
क्यों लगता है आपको, ऐसा क्यों हुआ आपके साथ?
मुद्दा बनना चाहिए था, मगर ये बन नहीं पाया। अलग अलग मुद्दों पे लोग भटक गए और बहुत जी
ठीक है। तो like he points out, he says that vikas, that perennial thing in Bihar कि विकास होगा, something that politicians have been asking for votes on for at least the last 15-20 years. But right now, like I said, very important to also stress that this is an election in the middle of this crippling pandemic, and that's why you have people masked up and you have security forces and everyone else also in protective gear. This is 71 seats that are polling today. It's the smallest chunk, Anjali, of seats that are going to the polls, and that's because a lot of the seats that are polling today are also in Bihar's Naxal-dominated or Naxal-affected areas, starting from Jamui to Aurangabad to Gaya, all the way to Rohtas, where Sasaram is. So that factor also playing very much so in the Bihar elections phase 1. But right now, some lines, some queues, and COVID protocols at this polling booth here in Sasaram.